The series' first episode begins on May 6, 1937, with people rushing towards the Hindenburg. A hole is visible in the airship. Nearby, a woman stands, and a man questions if she should be that close to the Hindenburg. Cameras are rolling as the crowd marvels at the sight of such a massive object in flight. Crewmen pull the ropes to aid in the landing. Suddenly, the Hindenburg explodes, creating a massive fireball that engulfs the airship. The scene moves to a history class. Here we've got historian Lucy Preston. She's a history professor, but she's a cool history professor. She gives lectures about LBJ and his penchant for whipping out his junk. Suddenly, a man enters and the teacher steps outside with him. In the hallway, the teacher asks him why her tenure meeting was cancelled. The man, who is the department chair, says he had nothing to do with it. The frustrated teacher tells him that he could have made sure the meeting happened because of his important position. She also says that her mother helped start the department. Then, she leaves. After Lucy leaves the frustrating encounter with the department chair, she heads straight to her mom's house. Her mother, once strong and vibrant, now lies in bed battling illness. Lucy asks Amy how mom is, and Amy replies that she's about the same. Lucy suggests they go out for a drink, and they head to the kitchen. While they're having their drinks, Lucy shares with Amy about the cancelled tenure meeting and her desire to continue their mom's legacy. Amy offers some advice that feels like it carries a deeper meaning. She tells Lucy to stop worrying about disappointing mom and to make her own future. At Mason Industries, Rufus, a technician, is about to head out for a taco when suddenly they hear a gunshot. It turns out that Garcia Flynn and his accomplices have raided the facility and stolen a working time machine that has mysteriously reappeared at Mason Industries. Lucy was in the living room, lost in thought while looking at a photo of her mom and Amy, remembering happier days. Suddenly, the doorbell rang, snapping her out of her thoughts. She answered it and found Agent Kondo from Homeland Security at the door, looking urgent. He begged Lucy for her assistance, explaining how serious the situation was. Without hesitating, Lucy agreed to go with him. She is then met by Homeland Security Officer Denise Christopher and Master Sergeant Wyatt Logan. They head to be briefed about the recent incident. The officer explains how ex-NSA asset Garcia Flynn killed his wife and child, showing them CCTV footage. After they saw the sudden disappearance, they asked if it was a special effect or something else. It is at this moment that Connor Mason appears to explain a closed time-like curve. It turns out the time machine was built by him, and he hadn't informed the government until it was stolen. Connor Mason then reveals another time machine which appears older. Both Lucy and Wyatt are given the mission to travel to May 6, 1937, where the Hindenburg explodes, to chase after Garcia and save the past. Lucy is hesitant and disagrees initially. She starts to run away, but Denise convinces her that if she loves history, she has a responsibility to save it. They then get into the time machine with Rufus, who is the only one who knows how to pilot it, dressed in clothes resembling the past. Together, they travel back in time. At a bar, they ask the bartender if he has seen a man, showing him a photo of Garcia Flynn. They stumble upon Miss Drummond, whom Wyatt shows interest in. They also ask her if she saw the man. She replies that he was there 2 hours ago, but was picked up to work as ground crew when the officers at the airfield needed an extra hand. The three of them then head to where the Hindenburg is supposed to be landing. They introduce themselves as a doctor and a nurse to Commander Rosendahl and inform him that a man is about to cause danger. Rosendahl shows and tells others about the man. Meanwhile, Wyatt, interested in Miss Drummond, tries to save her from the crash. As they struggle, the Hindenburg is reported to land safely. After knocking out one of Flynn's men who tried to kidnap Lucy, they find a walkie-talkie. Rufus disassembles the walkie-talkie, and Wyatt discovers that it wasn't a walkie-talkie at all, but a detonator. While Lucy was revealing that Flynn wanted to prevent the explosion today, so he could blow up the Hindenburg tomorrow with notable historical figures like John D. Rockefeller on board, they are arrested based on an anonymous tip from Flynn's men. In their jail cell, Wyatt tells Lucy that Miss Drummond looks like his dead wife. He suggests using Lucy's bra underwire to pick the lock. While Rufus distracts the guards, Wyatt uses the bra underwire to unlock the cell door. They escape and rush to stop Flynn's plan. They manage to get on board the Hindenburg and find the bomb Flynn planted in the kitchen, but before they can remove it, the airship takes off. To stop Flynn, Rufus and Lucy go to the cockpit. They pretend to be members of the anarchist Black Cross and force the pilot to land the airship. As Wyatt and Kate successfully defuse the bomb, one of Flynn's henchmen shows up and tries to shoot them. As he was about to shoot at Wyatt, shooting on a combustible airship is a very dumb idea, and soon the Hindenburg goes up in flames. Chaos erupts as Wyatt, Rufus, and Kate try to evacuate the ship. Lucy confronts Flynn face to face, and he surprisingly knows exactly who she is. Flynn reveals he has a mysterious book written in her handwriting. Lucy denies writing it, but Flynn tells her she will in the future. He cryptically mentions Rittenhouse and questions why the government chose her as the lead historian. In the confusion, Wyatt tries to stop Flynn, but he escapes after shooting Kate. Kate dies before Wyatt's eyes. Disappointed, the trio returns to the future, where they find that a lot has changed, but they still haven't caught Flynn. Lucy, exhausted, goes back home and is shocked to find that her mother is suddenly healthy, she is engaged, and her sister no longer exists. On top of that, her job as a historian is now at risk because everything she knows about American history after 1937 has changed. Things are not going well for Lucy. Lucy's phone rings and it's the officer again. She tells Lucy that Flynn has taken out the mothership again. The episode ends with Lucy asking when. The second episode begins on April 14th, 1865. Abraham Lincoln's bodyguard is bragging about his familiarity with Lincoln and mentions that Lincoln is next door watching a play. Meanwhile, Mr. Booth, appearing sneaky, overhears the conversation between the bartender and the bodyguard. Booth then goes to where Abraham Lincoln is watching the play and kills him with a gun, and General Ulysses S. Grant with a knife. Back in the present, Lucy rushes to Mason Industries where she is called again. Upon her arrival, she explains what happened, showing them her necklace as proof that her sister doesn't exist. They are then ordered to eliminate Garcia by going after him to April 14th, 1865. While Lucy is getting ready to leave, Connor Mason is seen giving Rufus a flash drive-like device. When Rufus mentions the name Rittenhouse, Mason warns him not to speak it aloud again. Then the trio once again travels to the past. Back in the past, we see Garcia insisting on helping Booth, claiming that he knows what he is about to do. While the trio splits up to find Booth, Rufus encounters a group of fellow sergeants. They ask him to write letters for them, assuming he can help due to his presence. During their conversation, one of the sergeants starts questioning Rufus about his background. As Rufus stumbles over his answers, the sergeant realizes that Rufus isn't a real soldier. Anger flashes across the sergeant's face, and he accuses Rufus of being an imposter, causing a tense and dangerous situation for Rufus. Wyatt and Lucy walk into Ford's Theater to find Booth before he arrives. Inside, they split up. While Lucy is looking through some files, she stumbles upon Robert Todd Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln's son. She introduces herself as an amateur actress. Robert shows her General Grant's tickets and explains that he is about to return them to the box office because Grant couldn't make it to the play that night. Lucy insists on taking the tickets to the box office for him. After they locate Booth, they quietly follow him to the Herndon house, where he meets with his conspirators. They try to gather information without being seen, but Garcia spots them. Garcia opens fire and Wyatt shoots back to protect Lucy and Rufus. During the chaos, Wyatt is hit by a bullet and falls. Despite the injury, they manage to escape. In a hotel room, Wyatt persuades Rufus to remove the bullet from his wound. Meanwhile, Lucy heads to the train station. By chance, she encounters Robert Todd Lincoln again. This serendipitous meeting results in Robert offering her a ticket to Ford's Theater, inviting her to accompany him as his date. Rufus manages to remove the bullet and stitch Wyatt up. At night, Garcia and his cronies meet up with Booth. presenting him with gifts, 21 Saint Century weapons that would surely ensure success. Garcia insists that Booth should take them. However, Booth, being an actor known for his dramatic flair, is hesitant. He politely declines Flynn's offer, unsure about using such modern weaponry for his mission. Lucy goes to the theater with Robert. Inside, she tries to stay calm, but the realization that she's carrying a weapon in such a historic setting makes her nervous. Sensing her unease, Robert notices and leans in, whispering that his dad is always late to these shows, trying to ease her nerves. They wait. The theater fills with excitement. Suddenly, President Lincoln arrives, and everyone's attention turns to him. Robert happily introduces Lucy to his father, and she is struck with awe as she shakes Abraham Lincoln's hand. Booth goes to the bar and takes a shot before heading off to complete his mission. On his way, he encounters Garcia again, who insists that Booth should take the gun. Booth refuses once more. Flynn, frustrated with Booth's hesitation, knocks him out and decides to carry out the assassination himself. Outside, Rufus is once again confronted by fellow Sergeant Nicholas, who accuses Rufus of trying to sneak into the vice president's hotel. Rufus tries to explain that he's not the one planning to harm the vice president, but his words fall on deaf ears. As they struggle, the shooter aims at the vice president. In a split-second decision, Rufus manages to misdirect the shooter's aim, saving the vice president's life. Despite his efforts, Rufus knows the danger is far from over. With General Grant seated in the box next to her, Lucy anxiously tries to convince him to leave before Booth arrives. She's torn, uncertain whether she can stand by and let Lincoln die, especially after meeting him and having a total history fangirl moment. As she worries, Flynn suddenly appears. Lucy realizes his intention to shoot Lincoln, and driven by her emotions, she tries desperately to warn the president. Sadly, her warning comes too late, and Flynn shoots Lincoln. Before Flynn can aim at Grant, Lucy intervenes. They struggle, managing to prevent Grant from being shot, but Flynn manages to escape in the chaos. After the incident, Lucy finds solace in comforting Robert outside. They share a moment of understanding and support as they process the events they've just experienced together. Eventually, the trio returns to the present, carrying the weight of their shared experience with them. Rufus's co-worker Gia offers to help Lucy uncover the mysteries of the altered timeline. With Gia's expertise, they dig into the details, and Gia reveals a startling truth to Lucy. In this new timeline, Lucy's parents never met, never fell in love, and never got married. As Lucy processes this, she realizes the devastating implication. If her parents never met, both she and her sister Amy should never have been born. To complicate things further, we find out more about the mysterious Rittenhouse. Connor Mason has secretly enlisted Rufus to record all his conversations with Lucy and Wyatt to satisfy Rittenhouse. Rufus isn't happy about it, but Mason tells him he doesn't have much of a choice. The episode concludes with Lucy returning home to find her mother, who is now cancer-free, and her sister, who no longer exists. As she arrives, she walks into her own engagement party. In this altered timeline, Lucy is engaged, but she doesn't know who her fiancé is. She briefly meets him as he surprises her with a kiss, much to her surprise and confusion.